Now, let's just go through a little bit with regards to Studio Abroad, that new system we're using. We appreciate your patience with that. Joel and I are working out some kinks. This is the first semester we've used it, and so it is a little bit challenging. Appreciate you all going through that and doing that so carefully. Would you please make sure that you complete all the documents you need to complete? I think most of you have. We checked yesterday and most of them have done everything. Just read through that stuff, make sure you've read it. Who read the agreement and release? It's that big long document that says, whereas, therefore, heretofore. Who read that? Okay, you all signed it though. Okay, so what that said was you promised to pay all the fees, otherwise we'd chop your fingers off, and that you had to, the director of the program could seek medical help for you in case you were incapable of doing that, and that you would obey the rules and regulations of HSU. Where are they located? In the back of the catalogue, in the teeny, weeny, weeny print in the back, you need a microscope or a magnifying glass to look at. So you signed all that. So I'm glad you did, but you might want to read through it. There we go. I'm a little disappointed in numbers, Joel. There's way down. So unless people start picking up real soon, we're going to have a lot of people in our office. Alright, so we're going to start with health and safety, then we're going to move on to culture shock, and then the last thing we'll do is logistics. Logistics, thank you. So we're swapping it around, we're doing a little bit differently. We should be through in about, I don't know, 2.5 hours, something like that. Yeah, can you make sure everyone walks in that office? Thank you. So, most important thing is to know before you go, educate yourself. It's really important that you know what you're getting into. Everybody here is going to a developed country, correct? Yes? Good. Okay. So you're going to be able to drink the water, you hope. It's going to be fairly civilized as we know it. And you're basically going to be having a lot of familiar points that you can kind of attach yourself to. But health is really important. Study abroad experiences are pretty stressful because you're not only dealing with another culture, you're dealing with another education system. It's a double whammy. So your health is really important. You should take care of it before you go. You should also think about the health of the people you're leaving behind. Now, if you're all leaving parental units behind, those people are going to worry about you. It just comes with the package. What can you say? You have a kid, you worry for the rest of your life. So you need to inform those people. You need to let them know what's happening. Give them what you might consider way too much information. Just feed them stuff all the time. Oh, look, I found this article. Oh, look, see this website. Have you read this? Etc., etc. Don't tell them about the riots that are happening in Thailand right now.
She knows.
She's
okay. Totally on it, yeah.
Okay, but you've also been getting information from Global Links about that?
Yes, definitely.
Cool, excellent. And that'll probably be all over by the time you get there. So the issue here is that you do need to inform those people. You do need to let them know what you're going to be doing, how you're going to be doing it, and you also need to let them voice their concerns and not say, oh, for crying out loud, you said that yesterday. You need to let them talk about their fears and worries. This may be the first time you've been so far away from them for so long. And even though we've got Skype and all the rest of it, they're still not going to have you physically present. So it's really important we let them talk. Be kind to those people because they love you. The other thing you need to be very careful about is saying, listen, I'll call you as soon as I get there. Stop worrying. Because that's going to be the most worrying part, is kind of getting on the plane, bye-bye, and off you go. And then please call me, please. Don't say that, because in many ways it's going to be very difficult for you to call them as soon as you get there. You have to set up your cell phone, etc., etc. And we'll talk about that a bit later on. Joel's going to talk about that in communication. But oftentimes your cell phone, unless you've got an international plan, which is very, very expensive, won't work there. So you won't be able to call them as soon as you get there. Say you call them or you contact them within like 24 hours or so, because that's going to be one of the questions they ask you. You all filled out a medical form, I think. Did the people going on third-party providers fill out one of those for their third-party provider? Medical form saying you were healthy and all the rest of it. Okay. Those of you going on exchanges, hands up. Just the two of you, I think. 3. Yes. Where are you going in?
Townsville, Australia.
Townsville. There. Who's the exchange people? Right. Where are you going?
Shanghai.
Share your exchange.
Straight.
What about your visa thing? Have you started that?
Yeah.
You have a visa?
I've started my visa. It says like if you're leaving within 180 days, then.
Cool, excellent. So exchange people, you also filled out that little form online on the new system that talked about your health. We need to know about your health issues. So if there's something you want to come in and talk to us about, please do so next week. We're not knowing about your health issues because we want to say, oh, I'm sorry, you can't go on that program because you've got bloody blah. Not at all, that's not the point. What we want to do is make sure that you have a support system that's going to help you enjoy yourself while you're abroad. So we're trying to support you, not penalize you. It's really important you disclose health issues to us. And it's really important that if you don't feel comfortable disclosing to us, at least disclose to your program directors so that they know, so that when you're lying on the floor foaming at the mouth, they know whether it's an epileptic fit, whether you've just been bitten by a nasty spider or whatever it is, so they know what to do. It's really important that other people know those things. Women, people who belong to the LGBTQI communities, anyone with any disabilities whatsoever, be they learning disabilities or physical disabilities, you need to let us know also, and you need to have more information. So the main reason for letting people know is so that you can have the additional information to keep you safe and also to support you. So some things that may be okay to do here may not be okay to do in other countries, and we want to give you that information so we can keep you safe. So you notice women are in that group? Okay, so women, you do need to know how to keep yourselves safe in other cultures where women may not be given equal respect as they generally are here. Be careful if I say that. All right. Basic health issues. Wash your hands with soap and water lots. You know, it makes a huge difference. It really does. You can also check the Center for Disease Control website. Has anyone been on that website, just out of interest? It's quite interesting. Yeah, a bit scary, but quite interesting. Not many countries, in fact, no countries that I know of require immunizations. However, you might want to consider making sure you have, at a bare minimum, a tetanus jab. Okay? You don't want to be having to waste time and do that kind of thing while you're abroad. Tetanus jab at a bare minimum. Look at your immunization record. Make sure you're up to date. If you're planning on going somewhere like Morocco, or if you're going to be traveling around South America, or things like that, you might want to up the ante a little bit and get some other jabs as well. But you have to do it fairly fast because some of them need to have spaces in between doing them. Really important to take care of your teeth. I speak from experience here. I had an extraction in Colombia. Not fun. Yeah, they don't use anesthesia an awful lot in that country. So take care of your teeth and make sure they're all fine and dandy. And your eyes, if you wear glasses, contacts, whatever, make sure you have the prescription with you. And then also, if you can, take a spare pair of glasses, contact lenses, whatever, and carry them on with you, on board with you. With regards to medication, we'll do a little bit later on. Okay. Exercise. My kids, when they go abroad, like to run. My daughter's blonde. She was living in Spain. Talk about worry. I did ask her to please run with somebody else and to check out and make sure she knew exactly where the safe areas were of town if she was going to run. I'll do some exercise outside, and please cover up. You know, we can't wear little bra tops and shorts in many countries. And even if you do in countries where you think you can, it might not be a good idea. So cover up, run with a partner, do your exercise with a partner. It's really important to maintain an exercise regime, but it's also important to think about the safety factors. And once again, not all countries will treat you the same way or give you the same kind of respect. Food. One of my favorite parts. Okay, so I'm supposed to say to you, don't eat street food. I've said it to you, but on the other side, street food is sometimes the best food there is. So, delicious food, they really are. Yeah. I talked to somebody recently who said the koalas are really vicious. They're not nearly as friendly. They've got these massive claws. Anyway, most of you will have safe water. If you decide to travel, you might not. If you don't think you have safe water or will be traveling, it's a very good idea to invest in a SteriPen. You know, one of those things you put into water, it bright light kills everything, that kind of thing. We've taken them to Central America, South America, I've taken them to Asia as well. They work extremely well. The only thing you have to do is take an extra battery, although I think they now have ones that have AA batteries. Any of you who are thinking of traveling extensively, you might want to do that anyway. This talks about dairy products, fruit, etc., you know, washing it and all that. You can read that yourself. If the tap water isn't good to drink, if it's going to make you sick, then brushing your teeth with tap water is going to make you sick. Remember that one. Okay, it's a habit. You turn on the tap, you brush your teeth. Oh my God, I'm not supposed to drink the water. So keep a bottle of water by the sink. If you take a SteriPen, it also avoids the fact of having to buy bottled water, which I find somewhat troublesome, especially when you see the mounds of plastic. So SteriPen or something to sterilize is a really good idea. Rest. No, it's really difficult when you go somewhere new. Who's travelled long distances before? Okay. All right. So when you get to the other country, your schedule's all off. For a start, personally, I can't sleep on planes. I usually use that time to catch up on movies. I can get in 5 movies between here and the UK. My eyes are like this at the end, but you can do it. So whatever you do, what I don't do is take drugs to make me sleep on the plane, because I don't want to feel like, you know what, when I get off the plane the other side. I need to have all my faculties working as best they can. So I don't do that. You may choose to do that. If you do, be very careful when you get off the plane. Make sure you're completely awake when you get off. But you do need to rest. So one of the things that I would suggest is when you get off the plane, whatever time of day it is, don't sleep until at least 8 o'clock at night. Obviously, if you get up at midnight, you can go straight to sleep. But don't sleep until 8 o'clock at night. And then that gets your circadian rhythms back in shape again. It's sometimes challenging to get that sorted if you haven't traveled very much. And sometimes it's insidious, it just kind of creeps up on you, and 3 days later you feel like, what on earth hit me? So do pay attention to that, get lots of rest. The temptation as you get there is like, oh, party! But don't. Try and rest and just make sure you take good care of yourself. You're at your most vulnerable when you first arrive. And jet lag is real. It really is. It's not something somebody made up. It really is real. Health insurance. All right, who knows how their health insurance works? I thought so. Good. All right, so the deal is this. You all have travel health insurance, or you will have. The exchange people, you will be billed for your health insurance. It will be billed to your student center. It's at $60 for 1 month, for 30 days. So you can work out how much it's going to cost from there. It's a program we haven't used before, so I can't say it's any good or not, but the Chancellor has mandated this program because they're underwriting it. Don't get me started on that. We probably shouldn't record that. But the insurance, it's really important you know how it works. The reason we make you get travel health insurance is because your domestic policy usually doesn't have the same abilities that the travel health insurance does. So when you go abroad, generally speaking, you'll need to take your little card. Everyone knows what the little health insurance card is. Not the domestic one, the travel health insurance one. And that's on the website for the people who are going on exchanges. For those of you going third-party provider, they should be providing you with a little card. And that little card gives you the information, gives you your policy number, and it also gives you information about how to contact the insurance company. Now, the insurance company usually will require that you pay up front. Shock? Oh, yes, okay. So you normally pay up front. Sometimes you don't, but most of the time you do. And usually they won't let you out of the hospital or wherever you are until you've paid. So be prepared for that. It's a really good reason for taking a credit card. And then you get reimbursed by the company when you get back, or when you send in the reimbursement form. Now the reimbursement form is a really good idea to actually print one of those out and put that with your important papers. So you have your card, you're reimbursed with you all the time, your reimbursement form somewhere in your important papers form. Right? So do you understand how that works? Right. Most of you will have directors, in fact all of you will have directors you can go to and ask about where you should go, what the good doctors are, etc. And some of you will have insurance which will actually state on the online which doctors they work with in those particular areas. So it's a really good idea to look that up as well. So make sure you know how it works. Hopefully none of you will actually have to use it. All of your insurance policies do have evacuation. and repatriation. So evacuation is when you come back because you can't find a place that will give you the kind of treatment you need where you are, and repatriation is when you come back in a baggie, which we won't talk about. All right, medicine and medical conditions. I talked about this a little bit before. Now it's really important that you maintain your regime of medication. Doesn't matter what you're taking, doesn't matter. Maintain that regime while you're abroad. Now a lot of people will come off antidepressants. There's an amazing amount of people who are actually on antidepressants, and when they go abroad, what happens is they're taking antidepressants, they go abroad, they get to their location, and there's this euphoria that hits. It's part of the culture shock thing. You hit this area where it's like, oh my God, I did it, look what I've done, I'm in a foreign country, I've done it, I did it, wow. And you hit this kind of high. And at that point, a lot of people who are on antidepressants turn around and say, I don't need those guys. It was Humboldt. Look at the weather, enough to make you depressed, you know, all those exams, all that stuff going on. Your friend split up with me, hey, I don't need my antidepressants anymore. And then unfortunately, when they're acculturating, there is this dip usually, and that's when they crash. It's really important to maintain your regime of medication. Even if it's just vitamins that you've taken since you were a little person. Maintain those regimes. So the way you do that is you go to talk to your healthcare provider now. Because unbeknownst to me, until quite recently, oftentimes insurance companies will not give you more than 1 month's supply of your medication. So I called and I said, excuse me, I'm going abroad and I need another month of medication because I'm kind of running out a little bit, I'm halfway through. And they said, wait, we'll call the insurance company and see if they'll do that for you. Who knew? I had no clue. So it's difficult to get multiple months worth of medication. You need to talk to your healthcare provider now and tell them what's happening, and then see if you can take the medication with you. If you can't do that, and hopefully you can, if you can't do that, then you need to take a prescription written by your healthcare provider, and you need to take all your medication and keep it in the original bottles. Don't decamp it into little plastic bags. It needs to be in the original bottles. You need to do that, and you need to research to make sure you can get your medication abroad. Sometimes you can get you need to find out the name of it. So instead of Singulair, what is Singulair? That's the trade name. What's the stuff made of? So find out what it's made of, and then you should be able to get it abroad, hopefully. And you can go on websites. And if you have any questions about this, come and talk to Joel or myself, and we can help you with that. We can find websites where we can find out where the medication's available abroad. Just to let you know, there are some locations where medications are illegal. Ones that we use commonly here are illegal in some countries. So if you happen to find that out, then of course it's really important that you take enough medication for the entire time you're abroad. Work with your healthcare provider, please, okay? Take your medication in the original container with the original prescription just in case, in your carry-on luggage. Don't pack it, or it might get lost. Right, anyone got any questions about that? And take your immunization record with you, so that somebody says to you, oh, you stepped on a nail, you need tetanus. You can say, I just had a tetanus 3 weeks ago, don't need it. So you've got that visible proof. Anyone got any questions about health? Okay, if there's something you want to talk to us about in private, please come and see us in the office next week. We'll both be here next week, all of next week. Okay, all right. All right, safety. This is when we went to Oaxaca. We used to have a program in Oaxaca. Unfortunately, the government decided that Oaxaca was going to be a no-go zone because it's got a travel warning out right now. So we haven't gone back to Oaxaca. And this is the China-Tibet program. Apparently they eat a lot of top ramen. I was talking to Tony, and he said they eat ramen. He seemed to think that was just fine. I don't know about that. So we asked that everyone register. This is not so that they can keep an eye on you and keep like a big brother or anything. But if there does happen to be a major uprising, or if there does happen to be an earthquake, or anything like that, they look, this is what they tell me they do, they look on their records, they say, okay, we have Americans here, 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 and here, and then they kind of either go out and find you, or they know that you're there and they check on you to make sure you're safe. So please register with the STEP program, and that is on the Studio Abroad portal. I think it's in learning content. So look in learning content, you probably dismiss that entirely, left-hand side bottom, learning content, and register. use common sense when you're traveling around. Now, one thing that I talk about a little bit is the fact that you're not going to have the same kind of understanding of the culture or where you are as you do here. Like, for instance, here, you kind of know without even thinking where the kind of iffy places are. You know the guys dealing drugs on the corner, you know what they look like, you know what is appropriate to do, what kind of weather you can go out and do certain things in, and how to drive carefully and all the rest of it. But in many ways you won't have that kind of deep understanding of your location for a while. And you won't know those things intuitively when you're abroad. It's something you will learn, but it's not something you instantly know like that. You'll have different cultural norms to deal with apart from anything else. The local drug dealer might look completely different, you never know. I mean, things like that. I'm being flippant here, but I'm trying to give you an example of where you just won't have that sense of what's right and what's wrong and what's dangerous and what's safe. So you have to use your spidey sense, okay? You have to kind of get this feeling, okay, my body, I trust my body, my gut's telling me right now, you missed the crucial parts, the really exciting parts, but join in, we'll make it. So you need to make sure that you pay attention to your body. So when your gut says, and you probably haven't done this for a long time because you're familiar with the area, but when you go somewhere different, when your gut says, this doesn't feel good, it's that kind of feels squirrely, or this is kind of up your back, it kind of like, something weird going on, I'm not happy with this. That's what you have to pay attention to. You have to pay attention to the subtle messages you're getting from your body, because you won't know for a while. You're going to have to rely on your own little spidey sense to tell you what's safe and what isn't. And if it's not safe, get the hell out of there. You know, if you don't like the fact some guy walked up and said, hey, let me buy you a drink, grabbed your glass, took it up the bar, and is going to buy you a drink, you're going, whoa, wait a minute. No, not good, don't like this. I don't want some stranger buying me drinks. You never know what's going to happen. Men and women, not just women, men and women. So pay attention to those kinds of things and get yourself out of those situations. You don't have to wait around and say, oh, well, maybe it's okay. If your body doesn't feel right, get out. Because that's what you're going to have to trust. Unfortunately, motor vehicle casualties are the thing that we all kind of dread abroad and here, but it's probably the worst abroad, because a lot of you will be going to countries where driving is not quite as sane as it is here. The traffic lights tend to be advisory as opposed to something you actually have to do, and zebra crossings, as we call them in the UK, or walkways are like chicken runs. It's like, how fast can we get up to the pedestrian? And so anyway, you need to be really careful when you're walking around traffic and when you're in traffic. We do not condone the use of scooters, and I really need to put this in this information. You are not covered by your insurance. If you look on your insurance, you're not covered with bungee jumping and all sorts of weird things like that. But also the use of scooters, those little pop thingies, which are so popular in Asia and also very popular in France. Motorbikes as well, of course. So please be very careful. Use seat belts if you can find them. In Mexico, they're usually cut off. You need to be really careful about being around and in vehicles. Pickpockets. Has anyone had anything stolen from them on the street? Yeah. When? What happened?
Here in Arcata, some guy at the Oyster Fest was pickpocketing like crazy, and they found a pile of wallets. Had like everything other than the cash still in it, in a bar that I hadn't even been to that day.
So at the Oyster Festival, somebody was pickpocketing?
Yeah.
Come on, did they catch it?
No.
Oh, really?
As far as I know, no. It was just the bartender called me and was like, yeah, we have your wallet.
How did that feel when you didn't have your wallet?
It was really bad for like the 3 days that I couldn't have it.
Yeah, because you don't know what's happening to all your cards or anything else, yeah. Yeah, good. Anyone else have anything stolen? Okay, I was in Colombia and we had someone break into the house, and I also had some gamines, the little boys who live on the street. I was standing on the street corner waiting to cross the road, and I didn't even see them coming, but I just had this vague recollection of something really fast coming past, and next thing I knew, my neck, they'd yanked the silver chain off my neck. It was just a teeny weeny little thing, but they yanked it off my neck, and that was pretty painful. Not fun to have stuff stolen from you, either from your person or from your wallet or anything else. So it's really important though that if somebody wants to take your stuff, let them. You don't fight them. No, well, it's not worth it. You know, it's easily replaceable, you are not. So give it up, especially if you're being threatened. But if you want to stay safe with regards to pickpockets and stuff, there are some things you can do. Guys, wallets, get one of those dingle-dangle chain things. I know they're kind of passé now, but get one. Don't put anything in the back pocket. If possible, keep things in the breast pocket. Ladies, and all of you actually, if you're traveling, wear one of these money belts that goes right down in your underwear, and tuck it in your underwear too. You really notice if someone's touching down there. Put important documents there if you're traveling, especially if you're on a bus and going long distance. Don't put anything in a backpack up above you or down by your feet that's valuable. Put it all on your person, okay? If you're taking a bag around, guys and women, if you're carrying a bag, try and get one with a zip on it. You can always tie these little guys together if you're going into markets, you know, markets that are really close together where you don't have much space. A bag, I always wear it across me because I find that that's a lot better. This is not a particularly safe bag because it's got a clip here. I wouldn't take this traveling with me. If I'm wearing it across me like that, it's always in front of me when I'm walking on the street, especially if it's busy, so that people can't just brush past me. And if I ever sit down in a restaurant, it never goes on the back of the chair. It actually stays around me and goes on my lap. I learned that in Colombia. You put everything touching you. When you're in the airport, you put things touching you. So when you're in the airport with your bags, touch them with your leg or whatever. Don't walk away from your stuff, ever. All right? Keep things safe. You don't want to be a victim of theft. It's not fun. If you do have anything stolen, if you have your credit card stolen, or if you have anything else stolen, what could you do to help yourself get stuff sorted quickly?
Cancel.
Was that ring the embassy? What else does someone
Cancel all your cards.
cancel all your cards? How do you know who to call?
You should
Where's
have
the-
photocopies of your cards
You should
in
have
with your special body pouch. And
You should have photocopies of everything you're taking with you. So all your cards. Where's the number you have to call if your card's stolen? On the back of your card. Okay. So photocopy back and front and your passport, photocopy everything. Keep that actually separate from the real documents, so carry that photocopy pack separately. And always have that available while you're abroad. You can also leave a packet here. And the other thing you can do is scan everything back and front once again and send it to your email. And then you've got it if you've got access. But don't rely on that because you may not have access to a laptop. So have paper copies and also send it to your email. Any questions about keeping paperwork safe and keeping yourself safe and your stuff? Okay. If you're taking a camera, you do need to take, if you take a camera, it'd be nice. You might want to take a small one that you can put in a pocket. So you're not wandering around with a great big honking camera on the front of you, although it would be nice to take good pictures. If you can take a small one and put it in your pocket, that's a really good thing to do as well. All right. We've talked a little bit about money. So when I travel, I take money in a number of different forms. I've talked about a credit card and how useful that is if you need to pay something up front. Now, many of you won't have credit cards, but you should have a debit credit card. Now, if you're going for a shorter period of time, a debit credit card would work very well. You just go to the ATM and get your money out. It's really weird, actually. You go to an ATM in another country and foreign money comes out. You know, it's a very strange experience. I still haven't quite got my head around that. I take a credit card, a credit debit card. I take a little bit of cash in case when I go through the airport I need a few dollars. And then I take a few old-fashioned traveler's checks, like $200 in traveler's checks, something like that, just in case. Most places are very different. They're not really easy to use as actual money currency, but if you go to the bank, they'll give you money for the traveler's checks. And that's in case, because they're safe. Once you've got the traveler's checks and you've recorded the numbers, along with all your other safe stuff, then they're safe. You know, you can always get them replaced. As I said, the credit card, debit cards, you do need to have also the number you call when you're in a foreign country. So if you call your institution, along with telling them you're taking those cards out of the country, because if you don't tell them that, they'll stop your account. If you start going into ATMs in Chile, and you haven't told them you're going to Chile, they will put a hold on your account, and that's really distressing. So tell them you're taking these cards out of the country, and then also make sure that you copy them and everything else. Any questions about money? Apart from the lack of. Might want to appoint an attorney as well, so or give somebody power of attorney, so that they can actually manage your finances while you're gone. Or you might want to let a parental unit or somebody you trust have access to your account so they can move around funds for you in case you need that done with financial aid and what have you. Think about how that's going to happen if you've gone. Okay. Yeah, you don't want to be carrying around large bills. If you can possibly get smaller bills, that's always helpful. Oh, here we go. Isn't that amazing? Just absolutely mind-boggling. I mean, look at that. Look at the difference between those two pictures. It's really startling, isn't it? Really quite incredible. Okay, here we go. This is the girl who skied her way to class in Norway. She had a wonderful time. Oh, I think her hair's actually frosted, isn't it? Yeah. All right, alcohol. So, American students have a really bad reputation for being drunks. It seems like a lot of American students go abroad, and because there's no kind of constraints or anything else, they think, the first thing they do is go out and get absolutely plastered. And seriously, when I go and do site visits, the directors talk to me and they say, okay, how can we stop American students getting drunk? This is a real problem. They're creating a tremendous amount of bad will in the place we're in because they get drunk all the time. How can we stop this? I said, I really don't know, but I promise I'll put it in my orientation. So I am. And I'm asking you to drink responsibly. You don't know the strength of alcohol abroad. You don't know what's going to happen. You haven't got anything except your spidey sense to guide you for a little while. You do not want to be shit-faced in the gutter in some foreign country and get picked up by the police. And it's happened, trust me, it's happened. So please, 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 drink responsibly. Don't get drunk, because that's when a lot of problems happen. And make sure that you don't kind of perpetuate the stereotype. I always hope that this goes home and people really understand what I'm trying to say here. I was told in China, when I went to do a site visit, I had a long talk with the director, and she was really quite distressed. She said, I don't know what to do. I just don't know what to do. She said, in China, bars are not the same as in the US. And she'd been to the US. She said, in the US, bars are where people go and they socialize and everything else. In China, bars are where nasty people go. And they're not what we would, the type of people we would like to hang out with. In China, people go to tea rooms to hang out. That's where they go. That's where the students should be going to meet people, to get cultural experiences. How do we stop them going to bars? And I said, I don't know, I really don't know. So all I'm doing is asking you, please, to drink responsibly if you do choose to drink, and make sure that you stay safe, because most of the problems we have abroad with students getting into trouble, initially they are drunk. Okay? Terrorism is the title of the next section here. I can't really talk much about terrorism. I don't have personal experiences of terrorism except for bombs going off in London when I was working in the centre of London, us having to evacuate the store I was working at. And it's something you really can't prepare for necessarily. I'll leave you to read that section on your own. It's important you pay attention when you're in places. And even though we don't want to be thinking about this kind of stuff, it's important that you kind of are aware of some of the issues. This goes along with informing yourself before you go. Inform yourself about the locations you're going to, inform yourself about the countries. So you can read that by yourself. However, we'll skip that so we go to the next part. Drugs. Don't do them. Don't do them. Do not do drugs. Have I made myself clear? Yeah. Okay, do not do drugs. You'll be thrown off the program, there'll be sanctions against you when you come back to Humboldt, and you could get thrown in jail, and you could actually get killed. In some countries, the tiniest whiff of a drug and you're thrown in jail, and in some countries like Singapore, for instance, if you're caught with drugs, you're executed. Now, can we save you because you're Americans? No, we can't. If you break the rules of that country, you have to suffer the same punishment. And the same goes for when you break the rules with regards to drugs. I knew somebody in Colombia, went down to Colombia, thought he was being terribly discreet, even though he was about 6'8". Thought he was being terribly discreet, and he said, "Oh, I think I'm going to start up a dog farm. A dog farm. I'm going to raise police dogs down here." Really? You really think we're going to believe that? And instead he, of course, was dealing coke. Got thrown in jail for 2 years, languished there, nothing the consulate could do, nothing at all the consulate can do. Came out slightly wrecked person and went home. He was lucky, he only languished in jail for 2 years. And the jail wasn't the worst jail in the world, so.
With prescription drugs that are illegal in a country that you're going to, is it probable that they would not admit your prescription from your home country as admissible or as, you know, justification for you having those?
So far we haven't had that problem, and it's pretty rare, but if it's something that might affect you, then let's talk about that next week. And we'll do some research, and you can also talk to your healthcare provider. You're also representing HSU, the state of California in the United States. You're an adult, accept responsibility for your own decisions and actions. Behave in a manner that is respectful of the rights, well-being, customs, and culture of others, and encourage others to behave the same way. Follow the program policies and code of conduct. Obey the host country laws, and don't endanger yourself or others by what you say or do. Know before you go. Shock, yes, it is real. Do expect it. Has anyone experienced culture shock? No one been abroad? You have? Well,
I was in Ecuador, and I'd never lived in the city before, and I was in Quito for 2 months, and it was definitely a new experience for me. And I was like, I didn't get super well, but there were times when I would just really miss my mom and everything. But thankfully I had a way to contact her, and she definitely helped, and I just would go out with my friends and do safe stuff and be outside, and it was a really good time.
all right. Anybody else experience culture shock? Yes.
Well, I was raised in Mexico, so when I came here, I was 16 and junior in high school. So that was really like weird, the change, you know, cultures. I mean, I could go to Mexico whenever I wanted, back to school, the house, everything. It was pretty good. Now I'm used to it, but now I can notice the differences between those two, like this country and Mexico.
Where do you live when you're here? When you in this country?
Here in San
the US?
Diego.
You live in San Diego.
Yeah.
So even coming from San Diego to here was a bit of a culture shock too, right?
That was not as big because I don't know, I'm pretty good at managing like really like hard shocks like that, and it's mostly like the change in society in San Diego. Everyone's busy, and here is so mellow, it's so chill. Mainly that, but it was not as hard as Mexico and the United States.
I'll refer to that in a little. Anybody else experienced culture shock? Okay, I went to Colombia. I lived in Colombia for 3 years, and when I went to Colombia, I remember vividly waking up the next morning and wandering around the town feeling as if I was like 2 feet off the ground. I wasn't grounded at all. I'd never been on such a long plane ride, and I had no clue. I spoke no Spanish. I really had no clue. I had not informed myself about Colombia at all. And I remember feeling just totally out of place. Totally out of place. Took a long time to kind of feel myself belonging there at all, because being a bit blonde at the time and very young, there was a completely different attitude towards women as well. And then when I came to the States, I thought to myself, oh, everyone speaks English, it's going to be a breeze, it's going to be really easy. But what happened was that because you use slightly different words sometimes, and because customs are very different, and people would say to me, well, you remember when you went to prom? No, I didn't go to prom. Well, what did you do last Thanksgiving? No, I didn't have Thanksgiving. So there was all these little times where people would say things, or somebody would say a word, and then I was immediately kind of realizing, oh, that's right, I don't belong here, this isn't my culture. So that was a really interesting kind of way of kind of realizing I was going through culture shock. It is real, and even though you're there perhaps for just a short time, you will experience culture shock. I alluded to it earlier on when I said, and I talked about medication. What happens, you can see this diagram down the bottom, this is just one way of describing culture shock. And what people generally say is that you start at one point, the point you're at now, you get to the location because it's been such a lot of work, because it's been such a lot of effort, you get to your location and you're ecstatic. Oh God, I made it. My clothing made it with me. My bear's in my bag. My pillow's great. I love this place. It's wonderful. Look at all this great food. Oh, it's sunny. So you're going around feeling really ecstatic about what's happening. And then after a while you realize, why am I sick of beans and rice? I've had beans and rice now for 3 days. I really wish I could get my breakfast cereal. Why didn't I bring my own breakfast cereal? You know, my pillow smells really funny. I wish they wouldn't wash it with that weird soap. And you know what? I wonder how my dog's doing. I do miss my dog. So then you start kind of getting into that kind of thinking. And you go down a little bit, you sink down a little bit and kind of think to yourself, oh, I've got a final, oh, I've got a quiz, and I really don't get this class, and they speak Spanish way too fast, and I didn't learn those words, and that's not the Spanish I learned. So there's all this kind of going on, and you tend to just go down a little bit. And that's usually, we can usually kind of get an idea of when that's happening with students. We get more emails from students saying, I didn't get the class I wanted, blah, blah, blah. And you can just respect yourself for going through these stages, because it's okay. You're going to go through these stages. It may not be as serious, and it may be quite serious. You just have to be gentle with yourself. And then after a while, you start thinking to yourself, oh, hey, I went the whole day, I spoke a foreign language, I understand nearly everything they're saying, and I really like this new person I found. And the restaurant that's down the road where they serve this incredible food, and I'm really feeling good. It's good, I'm feeling good. And that's when you start to acculturate, you start to pick yourself up off the floor and get yourself to a point where you're feeling comfortable where you are. You don't have to use your spidey sense so much, you're feeling grounded, you're feeling like you actually could belong in this place. You're sleeping well, you're eating well, and you're doing well in class. And that's what brings you up, and you get to a point where you're doing well. Oftentimes people will think about this as a spiral as well, where you start here, you go up, and then you plummet a little bit, and then you go up again, and then it may be that you go down a little bit. But eventually you become acculturated, and that's the point, that's what you're looking for. That's why you went. Because you're not just going for the academics, you're also going to get these tools for dealing with other cultures, and that's probably why it wasn't such a big shock coming up here, as it might be for people who hadn't originally lived in another country. You've already got those skills. You've already got the skills to deal with another culture. You can't get these skills unless you go to another culture. You can't stay in your culture and get these skills. You're going to be in another culture, and you're going to be developing skills to deal with that. You're going to be able to look back on your own culture and look at it objectively for the first time in your life, maybe. And you're going to be dealing with another culture and learning how to deal with it and getting the skills to deal with it. This is the little secret that you get from studying abroad. So you get the academic experience, you get the parties, you get the friends and everything else, but this is the little nubbin, this is the really special little skill set that you get from studying abroad. And to do that, you have to go through culture shock. Whether it be really severe or whether it be really gentle, whatever it is, you have to go through that roller coaster, and you have to get the skills that you didn't have previously to deal with another culture. And when you come back, you'll be a unique person. You're a unique person already, but you will be a person who has changed. You've been through an experience that has changed you. You'll be kind of changed in subtle ways. You'll have a world view instead of just a one culture view. You'll have more of a world perspective. And that's a gift to yourself. So when you go through this up and down, up and down, up and down, keep telling yourself, okay, I'm getting a new set of skills here. I can deal with this. I can deal with this. And when you come back here, don't negate those skills. That's the important part. It's really important to get classes and everything else, and that's going to count. But the important part is for yourself as an individual, you're getting a set of skills that people cannot get unless they've been through this transformational experience, unless they've made the effort to go to another culture. And those skills are what people are looking for now in the workplace. So you need to come to a returnees workshop so we can help you, and you need to meet with somebody from the Career Center so they can help you package those skills and put them on your resume so that it shows. It's really important. Do not negate those skills. They're special. You can't define them necessarily. It's the ability to communicate across cultures. It's the ability to understand other cultures. It's the ability to have another language, be fluent in another language. There's a lot of different skills, and the Career Center knows how to put names on them. And that's going to be important because recently I just read that it's not 1 to 2%, but it is now more or less 2%, but only 2% of American students who study abroad. You're immediately in that category as soon as you studied abroad, and you get those skills. It's really important. Don't negate those at all. That's your gift to yourself for going through all this effort. Right? Anyone got any questions about culture shock? Just be gentle on yourselves. Realize you're going to go through it, get rest, eat well, sleep well, and be gentle. Understand what you're going through. It's a transformational experience on a physical level, an emotional level, even maybe a spiritual level, who knows? But you're going through a transformational experience. Huh. Anyone got any questions so far before I turn it over to John? No? Just go home then. Get going with those finals, right? Okay.
Alright, so last section we're going to go through is a little bit of logistics. Now a lot of this Penelope is covered already, as you can see here, passport, visa, some other things. So I'll touch on a couple of these topics, go over a few things that she didn't cover, as well as a few more topics in here, and then we will get you guys out of here so you can enjoy your weekend. Okay, so a little bit more about money. She did mention a money belt, and while those aren't the most fashionable of items, it's really going to be probably the best way to keep everything safe and secure. Whether you're going to be on a 10-hour bus ride from one city to another, you want to have that stuff on your person in a location that's not going to be easily accessible to other people. Also, Penelope had mentioned traveler's checks and the amount of money that you should take when you actually are going abroad. When you first arrive in another country, it's going to be nice to have a little bit of that local currency. So, you know, when you get there, don't exchange all of your money at once at the airport. The exchange rates are terrible. They're going to take you for as much as they can with extremely high fees. So maybe, you know, exchange 20, 30 bucks, enough for a taxi, enough for you to get a local meal. And then wait until you get to an actual bank before you exchange the rest of your money. And, you know, opening up that bank account is going to be really useful and helpful. You know, with certain exchange rates, it's going to be nice to, you know, take out your fat wallet and make it rain all over the place. But it's going to be also useful not to flash that kind of money around. So if you can open a bank account and get a debit card or something similar that you can use from, you know, different locations to be more like a local, to have more access to the amount of money that you're going to be spending, it's going to be really, really helpful. So, although on these, in the stuff you're receiving, it's saying, oh, if you are going to be going just for, you know, a semester or less, it's not necessary to open a bank account. I would recommend doing it anyway, just for the amount of freedom it's going to give you with, you know, say you're traveling to a different city and then you see, oh, there's this really cool souvenir I want, oh, but I didn't bring enough money for it. If you have a debit card, you'll always have enough or as little, and you don't have to worry about people swiping your wallet as often. So this is something that I didn't figure out until after I was abroad. PIN numbers on ATM cards. Make sure that yours is 4 digits. I had a 6-digit one here in the States, and when I went abroad and tried to take out money, it asked, I was only able to put in the first 4 digits. And so I was sort of, you know, I was like, oh, geez, I didn't see this coming whatsoever. So check out with your bank before you go. Just because, you know, that's something you don't really think about, and it's also can be extremely annoying if you, depending on what bank you use. And I also would recommend the bank account because though you can use your personal debit card here from the United States abroad, the fees can add up. So you don't want to be carrying a lot of cash, but then you do want to have access to money, and going to the ATM every time you buy something can really limit the amount of money that you have available. So it's better to try to get as much money over there at once, stick it in a bank account, and then withdraw it with a local ATM or local debit card. Okay. So we went over finances, letting you know your bank and everyone else that you're going to be abroad. We went over health insurance. Another thing to say about health insurance is that your policies will cover you for the duration of your trip. So how many of you are planning on going over a little bit earlier, staying a little bit afterwards? Okay. So it's going to be important for you to, especially the people on exchanges, bilateral exchanges, to take out a separate insurance policy for the time you're spending abroad, either before your program begins or after it ends, because your policy through HSU is only going to cover you from the dates of your program. So we want to make sure that you're covered in case anything bad happens to you during the fun times when you get to really explore the country after you've been there for a while, or start to explore the country before your program begins. Okay, register with the STEP program. Laptop computers. How many of you are planning on bringing a laptop abroad with you? Okay, most of you. All right, I guess most important thing with laptops is make sure that you back them up. Get an external hard drive and back everything up before you go. You don't want to have your laptop stolen and lose all of your college coursework that you've been working on so far. Laptops are also a hot item to swipe, so again, backing up your laptop is going to be really important for you to do. Of course, most laptops are going to be fine with varying voltages and varying differing currents in other countries, but it's always good to check before you go. You can find out the type of voltage that your laptop uses by looking at the little power brick that you plug into the wall. So most of them will say 110 volts through 240 volts, which means that it's basically going to be good wherever you go. But smaller appliances are not going to be the case. I tried to shave abroad and plugged my shaver into the outlet and suddenly sparks, and okay, now I have to buy a new $60 shaver. So hair dryers, curling irons, all that kind of stuff, if you're going to a different country, probably not going to work. And again, you can find out the voltage on that by looking on the, usually the warning labels will have it there. So make sure to take a look at what the voltage is going to be of the country you're going to. For certain things, you might want to buy a voltage converter. If you really have a good hair straightener that works out for you and you don't want to buy a new one abroad, maybe just spend $20 and buy a voltage converter. It might be a bit more economical, or you can wait and get one there. Save space in your luggage. As well as thinking about voltage, think about the types of outlets that are used abroad. So I screwed up with the voltage because in China they actually have similar outlets as here. They have the two prongs, and then they also have different looking ones. So even though it might look like you can stick something into it, doesn't mean you always should. So UK and Australia and other countries have different outlets. So you will need to maybe go to Target or something similar and pick up those converters, usually in the travel section next to the suitcases. Check your HSU email account. If it's full, we're not going to be able to get anything to you. If you plan on using your personal email address while abroad, make sure to link that to your HSU email account. People here at the university, as well as us in the Center for National Programs, are going to use your HSU email to contact you or attempt to contact you while you're abroad. So make sure that you're checking that account, or at least linking it with your personal account, so that we can get important information to you. Apply for graduation. Any seniors or upper division students in here? Okay. If you have 60 units or less before you are going to graduate, make sure you're applying before you leave. Anyone else, you can you can wait until after you get back. Tickets. How many of you booked your tickets already? Okay, most of you. Get good prices. What did you pay? If you want to share, if you don't want to share it, it's fine. But I was like to ask, get any good deals? What are some of the numbers that people got?
There was like a student group price for USAC.
Okay.
A little better than what was on Expedia.
Okay. How about you?
It was about 1,500 for the back.
Okay. Round trip. So you got the whole semester out. All right. Good. How about over here?
I bought my only to the UK and it was $1,000 around there, but then I had to change my flight, so I had to pay $2,200 more because of the accommodation thing. There was like confusion over there. I thought the orientation that I had to attend over there was going to be from the 16th to the 18th. So
Okay.
I planned my flight to be there on the 15th.
Mm-hmm.
But then they sent me an email that they were not going to be in accommodation until the 22nd. So there was like that week that I didn't know what to be like over there, and I looked up like hostels and things like that. But it's as expensive as changing the flight.
So it made more sense to just change the flight. Okay. Yeah, I mean, flights are expensive, so the earlier you can book them, the better. And using something like Student Universe or similar, or student groups through third-party providers, can really save you a ton of money. So take advantage of the fact that you're students and have your student IDs, because there's a lot of budget options like Student Universe that you can utilize for those of you who haven't gotten your tickets yet. And for those of you who have, yeah, I mean, certainly expensive. A couple of years ago, flying to China was something like $1,200. You could find a ticket now. You'd be lucky if you find $1,500 to $1,800. Have you bought your ticket yet, Emily?
Not yet, but I found one for 1,000 at Arcade.
1,000. All right. So you just gotta search. I mean, wake up at 2 in the morning and see what you can find. Just checking at different times of day is gonna pretty much be the best guarantee that you can find the lowest rate. Okay. Homestay and making friends. So many of you will be staying either in homestays or will be staying with local roommates. One of the coolest things you can bring is stuff from America that you can't find in that home country. Even stuff as innocent as a T-shirt from here at HSU would go over really well with local students. Being able to represent a different university or anything that is from your hometown that's very, if you're from the Bay Area or from Los Angeles, any sort of sports memorabilia type things would go over really well. Just something small. You don't have to spend a fortune, but a little token that you can give to a potential roommate is really appreciated. Those of you who are doing homestays, it's a little bit low tech, but if you have any sort of home pictures that are actual pictures that you can flip through, take a few of those over. Take some pictures of your family. Family is universal, so that's great icebreakers to just flip through and let them see what your family is like, hear about their family, especially home moms. These are kind of conversations that they live for, right? It's going to be a great way for you to connect with them, and again, family is universal, and it's a great conversation starter with whoever it is. And of course, baby pictures are super embarrassing, but they're also really funny and a good conversation piece. There's not going to be any elections coming up soon, except for local ones. I don't believe none of you are going over for a year, so that's not entirely applicable to you. Research, learn about your country. Lonely Planet guidebooks are fantastic. A lot of them are free. Well, you can of course buy them at Barnes & Noble, etc. But there's free versions, condensed versions that they have online. Also, there's a series called Moon that has a lot of good local guidebooks, specifically on cities, actually. So, go to a bookstore, see what you can find, but also the internet's a really good resource. You can, if you want to laugh, like I said, you can go to the State Department's website and read about what kind of things they have to say about other countries, or the CIA fact sheet. They have a lot of good hard data information, but if you want any sort of cultural information, I don't really recommend those websites, places to look. Document file, we mentioned this a little bit. A large file where you can keep all copies of important documents. You know, I always had some sort of strong mesh waterproof something or other that you can keep everything in. You know, obviously we mentioned make copies of everything and keep copies on you. In certain countries like China, you're required to have a copy of your passport on you at all times. I believe they actually want your physical copy of your passport, but if you actually just have a copy, it's fine. So she mentioned emailing photos or emailing scans of your documents to yourself. But if you're bringing your iPhone or something similar abroad, take a picture of it. Snap a picture of it on your iPhone so that even if you don't have internet, you'll have that available with you at all times. Also, so you know, it's good to have that file when you're abroad, but even starting it before you actually go is going to be really useful because the day when you're packing, things are going to be all over the place. There's going to be clothes everywhere. There's going to be documents everywhere. So having them all in one spot is going to be really, really helpful. The day of our trip, my wife and I were leaving for China. The day of, we had all of our documents laid out nicely in our bed, and then we had some clothes on top, and of them that we were going to pack eventually. So we go to do one last-minute load of laundry, pick up the clothes, and then throw them in the wash. And then we were wondering, oh hey, where is my wife's passport? Oh, we put it in the wash. Okay, so the day before we were about to leave for our flight, we washed her brand new passport that she got a week earlier. And those were the kinds that have, the RFID chip in it, and they're electronic, and you can scan them at different places. Well, it turns out that it no longer scanned, but, it was still good enough, fraying at the edges, that it worked out. So, starting a document file and keeping everything in one spot will help little inconsistencies like that. And I'll just say that, something is going to not work out the way that you expected it to, and that's just life. So, having a good sense of humor about it and knowing that something is eventually going to go wrong will take you a long ways. But hopefully it's not something as bad as putting your passport in the wash. Okay, so next, departure. First thing you do when you wake up, confirm that your flight is departing on time. There's lots of good apps that you can use on Android or iPhone that will let you know your flight status and let you know the gate, so you don't even have to worry about looking at that huge board with all the other travelers. You can just look at your phone and see where you need to go. Check the baggage allowances. Airports are getting airlines are notoriously stingy. They pay by the pound, so any way they can get you, they will try to. It used to be that you could have 2 checked luggages for international flights. I believe it's down to 1, depending on the airline. So look into the airline that you're taking. Make sure that you can, see what your baggage allowance is, and make sure that you have the proper dimensions for luggage. That being said, don't overpack. Don't take too much. Certain things you can get abroad, and it's going to be potentially cheaper there than the hassle it is of packing it and taking it abroad to begin with. Plus, you're going to probably have a laundry list of souvenirs that people want from your family back here at home, or things that you want to take back home. So make sure you're leaving space in your luggage. You don't want to have to either leave stuff behind or pay an extra $50 for an extra suitcase or an extra $100 for an overweight suitcase, all that kind of stuff. So it's planning ahead early and leaving room in your suitcase will go a long way. Attach ID tags on the outside of your suitcase. After a 12-hour flight and you're tired, and the first thing you want to do is go to bed, trying to look at that carousel for all the same colored, same size black suitcases is going to be really annoying. One thing that we would always use is luggage straps. They're a good way of keeping everything tight, so if you have any sort of rip in your luggage, it doesn't all spill out everywhere, or if the zipper fails, it'll stay closed. And also you can get different colors, so you can see which one is yours as it comes trundling along. Not many people use them either, so you can just look for the bright orange, the luggage with the bright orange luggage strap on it, and you'll be good to go. Also with packing, bring at least one nice outfit, whether you are going to be interviewing for an internship that you want to do abroad, or if there's a social event at the beginning or at the end where you exchange business cards and hand out resumes, that kind of thing. Always having one nice outfit goes a long way. You don't have to be the person who's wearing flip-flops and shorts to the whatever end of year banquet that you need to go to. So, suit and tie, dress, that kind of thing. Pack it ahead of time so you don't have to spend a ton of money to buy it while you're over there. International flights. So, of course, arriving 3 hours before departure, you just want to make sure you have all your ducks in a row. You never know if you're going to arrive and there's going to be, tons of people who are waiting in line at security, or if they, are cutting down on the amount of TSA officers, so there's a 3-hour wait. Just, get there early. Bring something to do so that way you can just breeze through security sometimes, and then just hang out, relax, prepare yourself mentally, and grab a bite to eat, and just sort of get all your ducks in a row before you get on the plane. You don't want to have to be sprinting through and then sprinting to find your gate, and then first thing you have to do on your 12-hour flight is dry off from being all sweaty. That's not fun. A few things about being on the plane. Recommendations are headphones. Of course, everyone has headphones, and if any of you are from a big city where there's a lot of local transportation, you might have been stuck on a bus or a subway with someone who has sort of cheap headphones that don't have a lot of sound insulation, and so you're listening to their bad music on the subway or on the bus. I'll tell you, it's a lot worse when it's a 14-hour plane ride compared to a 10-minute trip on a bus. So that goes both ways. I would recommend getting some in-ear headphones, the kind that have the little rubber. They're really nice because not only do you not have to listen to your neighbor's bad taste in music, but you can also block out all the other sounds. So if you were, Penelope says that she likes to watch movies. I like to sleep. So I like to block out everything, block out all the sounds with my little in-ear headphones. And I also have an eye mask that I put on because, those movies play all night. And so, you're just falling off to sleep, and all of a sudden, Vin Diesel's getting exploded out of a plane, and there's all these bright flashes, and you're like, oh my god. It's just not very comfortable. So, one of those little eye pillow things can go a long way, especially on long flights, and I would highly, highly recommend it. Also with water, they don't allow you to take bottled water into the airport anymore, and of course, bottled water inside the airport is $5,000. So something like this, clean canteen, just empty it out, and then fill it up once you're beyond security, and there you go, you're good for the entire flight. And throughout the flight, drink a ton of water. Jet lag is real, as Penelope said, but mainly the main cause is dehydration. So if you just drink a ton of water, as much as possible, every time you wake up, every time you have a meal, drink water, it'll really, really help you out. You'll probably have to get up a bunch to go to the bathroom, but it'll be worthwhile in the end once you arrive and you are actually able to function. And of course, after you arrive, drinking a ton of water helps to, again, fight the dehydration. Okay. Arrival. With immigrations and customs, you should be fine. Don't draw attention to yourself. You are just one of the many thousands of passengers that go through there, so if you don't give them a hard time, they're not going to give you a hard time. You should already have your visa in place in your passport, or you'll be getting it upon arrival at immigration. So it really should just be a matter of showing them your passport and then walking on out. Make sure that you are well aware of who is going to be picking you up at the airport, or if you're going to have to make your own way to campus or to your accommodations. You should be in contact with your university or your program to talk about what is going to happen at the airport. Don't rely on, if they say they're going to pick you up, that's great, and you can look for them, but also be prepared on your end. Have printed off where you need to go, directions of how to get there, maybe a local translation of, if you don't speak the language, of what you would need to say to a cab driver, etc. Just make sure that you have all your bases covered. Because sometimes, things do go wrong. I had a friend who went to South America, and he arrived at the airport and he saw a driver he was looking for his driver and he couldn't find him, so he was walking around, spent an hour trying to find this driver who was supposed to meet him there. eventually he was approached by someone who said, oh, blah, blah, blah university, which is where he was going. So he said, oh yeah, that's me. So he got into the cab and then was driven around for 2 hours, and it ended up that this was not a legitimate cab. And so the price tag ended up being like $400 or $500 for this taxi cab, basically. And so he was safely dropped off at the university eventually, but once he arrived, everyone there was like, oh my god, where were you? I'm sorry, our driver was, XX minutes late, so we couldn't find you. And they were frankly amazed that he had gotten to his location successfully, because, things can be dangerous in other countries, and it's one of the reasons why we tell you to avoid cab drivers who approach you. So, essentially, be sure of who you're supposed to contact, have the phone numbers of who you're going to contact and who's supposed to pick you up, and have directions and be able to make your own way to that location if need be. Okay. So while you're there, page 5. Remember to study hard. This is an academic program above all else, so you need to focus on the fact that your GPA will be transferring back, not just as well as your credits. Many systems will require students to have much more self-initiative than here in the United States. Regarding academics, above all else, follow the local customs. Pay attention to what local students are doing and talk to local students in classes to figure out and to adapt to their local academic system. Certain countries, they will say, okay, here's the required reading, and on top of that you could read this as well, and here's some additional optional reading. So you say, okay, great, I'll just do the required reading and then not have to worry about it, and I'll be fine. And then come test day, they include test questions from all of the readings, and oh look, the test is worth 100% of your grade. So things can be different in different countries, so that's why the local students are going to be your best asset. Talk to them, find out how they study, and maybe even join up with their study groups. It's a good way to make friends and practice the local language if that's applicable to you. Photos, of course, take them, share them, take tons of them. I'm sure you will, I don't need to tell you. Blogging and uploading photos is a great way to look back on your experience, and it's a great way to share them with us. We have a Facebook page that our students post lots of their blog links to, and it's always fun for us and for future study abroad students to see what current students are up to. Again, manners and etiquette, you are a representative of HSU, California, and of course America, and Penelope talked a little bit about this, so make sure that you are conducting yourself appropriately. Communication, so cell phones. How many of you plan on bringing your cell phone to the country that you're going to? Okay. Do you have unlocked cell phones? Are you planning on using a plan overseas? Okay. So it's possible, depending on your phone and the provider that you're using from, it is possible to use your cell phone overseas. Now, if you go give them a call, if you give AT&T and Verizon a call up and say, hey, I want to use my cell phone overseas, they'll be ecstatic because they'll say, okay, that's great, you can, of course, blah, blah, blah. Just buy this $200 plan that will allow you to use your phone internationally. That's not what you want. What you want is to use a local plan that will be a ton cheaper. And there's a couple ways you can do that. One, you can look into seeing how your phone can be unlocked. There's a variety of software that can do this. There's a variety of actual hardware, some SIM trays that allow you to unlock your phone, and other methods. Sometimes you can just call up the company and say, hey, I'm beyond my contract, can I unlock my phone? And they may very begrudgingly agree to do so. It all depends on who you use. In my circumstance, I ended up just buying a phone when I went to China, because a lot of times it's just cheaper, get the really basic model version that you can call and text from, and not have to worry about losing it, not have to worry about pickpockets, and then you can easily get on the local plan and pay very, very little. So I would, recommend if you, can't get your phone unlocked, or if it's too much of a hassle, just get a local phone. Don't spend an arm and a leg on it. Something really simple, and it will serve your purposes just fine. And then you can, bring your iPhone or your Android, etc., so that when you do have Wi-Fi, you can, log on with that and utilize that when you need to. Okay, again, keep yourself safe and healthy. Listen to yourself. Listen to your body. It'll tell you when you need to be sick. Don't be afraid to go into hospitals. It happens quite a bit. I was, on my program, every single person on the program had to end up in the hospital because they ate street food. Penelope said street food is the best food, and it is delicious, but holy cow, watch out, especially in Asia. It can make you really, really sick. So it's a personal choice, and it's definitely amazing food, but I guess in my experience, I would recommend staying away from it, at least in Asian countries. Meet people and network. So bring your resume. You might not be applying directly for a job, but handing out your resume, making tons of contacts will really help out your future career prospects. Even your roommates, so your roommate at the college that you're going to be attending could end up being a very influential person in the future. My roommate, when I went to China, is actually now a professor at Harvard, and he is 22 years old. He was a brilliant guy. So, the people you meet are amazing, and, connecting with them and networking with them can really help you out, and, you'll make lifelong friendships. So, bring business cards if you have them. They're really easy to print off. You can find tons of templates online, and they're really easy to make. And of course, print off your resume and bring your resume. Okay, last page, registering for classes. It is your responsibility to check the Student Center, and it is going to be your responsibility while you're abroad to register while you're abroad. So you'll need to contact your academic advisor to make sure you get that hold released, and just make sure you're doing it on the appropriate day so that you can be prepared to come back and have everything sorted and not have to worry. And of course, pay your bills. Check your student account here at HSU. You don't want to have a $5 late fee for something or other that's going to put a hold on your registration or on anything else. So make sure that all of your fees are paid so that there's no last minute surprises. And of course, as we mentioned, the re-entry workshop when you come back is going to be a really good resource, and we hope that you take advantage of it. We will have someone from the Career Center come in and talk about how you can put your study abroad experience on your resume. So we hope to see you all there, and that's something you can probably think about more a little bit once you're getting to the end of your program. Also, we will introduce a whole bunch of ways that you can keep in touch and keep involved with your study abroad experience back here on campus. So it's a really good resource, and we hope to see you there after you come back.